When giants fell silent, Admiral Kex Morvain adjusted his ceremonial collar as he gazed through the observation deck of the ZES Dominator, the flagship of the Zephyrian Empire's 5th Conquest Fleet. His 4 eyes, arranged in perfect symmetry across his elongated skull, focused on the blue marble hanging in space before them. Earth, the 73rd world destined to fall under Zephyrian rule. Pathetic, he muttered, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had overseen the conquest of 12 star systems. Look at them, Captain Tessin. Still burning fossil fuels, still fighting among themselves over invisible lines on maps. It's almost merciful what we're about to do. Captain Ylara Tessin, his second in command, stood beside him with her hands clasped behind her back. Her skin, a deep purple common to their species, showed the ritual scars of a career military officer. Intelligence reports suggest they've barely mastered fusion technology, Admiral. Their most advanced spacecraft couldn't reach their own outer planets without significant time investment. Admiral Morvain's mandibles clicked in amusement. Dr. Vrain, what's your assessment of these humans? Dr. Nexus Vrain looked up from his portable analysis station, his large head bobbing nervously. As the fleet's xenobiologist, he had spent months studying intercepted human transmissions. Fascinating creatures, Admiral. Highly emotional, surprisingly creative, but hopelessly divided. They've spent more resources fighting each other than developing space technology. Their military capabilities are quaint. Quaint. Admiral Morvain savored the word. I like that. Captain Tessin, what's our current fleet strength? 47 ships, Admiral. 12 dreadnoughts, 18 cruisers, and 17 support vessels. Enough firepower to glass a continent if necessary. The Admiral's 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. The Zephyrian Empire had perfected the art of conquest through intimidation. Why waste resources on prolonged warfare when a simple demonstration of power usually sufficed? Species after species had surrendered rather than face annihilation. Excellent. Deploy the standard intimidation protocol. Target their moon with a focused particle beam. Nothing that will affect their tides significantly, but impressive enough to make our point clear. Dr. Vrain shifted uncomfortably. Admiral, if I may, humans seem to have an unusual emotional attachment to their celestial bodies. Their literature and cultural transmissions suggest the moon holds particular significance in there. Dr. Vrain. Admiral Morvain interrupted, his voice cold. Are you suggesting that a species that can't even establish a permanent base on their own moon poses any threat to us? No, Admiral. Of course not. I simply thought. You thought incorrectly. Weapons Officer Korath, prepare the particle cannon array. The bridge of the Dominator hummed with activity as the crew prepared for what they assumed would be another routine demonstration. Through the vast networks of the Zephyrian Empire, this story would be told again, how the mighty Fifth Fleet brought another primitive world to its knees with minimal effort. Weapons Officer Korath, a veteran of 15 conquest campaigns, worked with practiced efficiency. Particle cannons charging, Admiral. Target locked on the moon's northern hemisphere. Fire when ready. The space around the Zephyrian fleet lit up as concentrated beams of destructive energy lanced toward Earth's moon. The impact was visible even from their position, a brilliant flash followed by a slowly expanding cloud of debris. A crater 20 kilometers wide appeared where the beams had struck. Direct hit, Admiral, Korath reported with professional pride. Estimated depth 4.7 kilometers. Energy release equivalent to approximately 1,500 of their nuclear weapons. Cheers erupted across the bridge. Officers congratulated each other on another successful show of force. Admiral Morvain allowed himself a satisfied smile as he watched the debris cloud expand around the lunar impact site. Communications Officer Vex, open a channel to the planet. Standard surrender demand, translated into their primary languages. Channel open, Admiral. Admiral Morvain straightened, assuming the posture that had intimidated dozens of species. People of Earth, I am Admiral Kex Morvain of the Zephyrian Empire. You have witnessed a demonstration of our power. Your moon has been struck by weapons beyond your comprehension. This is not an act of war, but a message. Surrender now, accept integration into our empire, and your species will be preserved. Resist, and face complete annihilation. You have 72 of your hours to respond. The transmission ended, and the bridge fell into expectant silence. In Admiral Morvain's experience, most species responded within minutes, either with pleas for mercy or immediate surrender. The more advanced civilizations might take a few hours to debate among themselves, but 72 hours had always been more than sufficient. But as the hours passed, something unprecedented happened. Nothing. No response, no communication, no acknowledgement of any kind. The planet's radio transmissions, which had been a constant chatter of commercial broadcasts, news networks, and communication traffic, simply stopped. Captain Tessin, Admiral Morvain called after 8 hours of silence. Status report. No response to our demands. Admiral. More concerning, all electromagnetic emissions from the planet have ceased. No radio, no television, no digital communications. It's as if they've all simply stopped talking. Dr. Vrain looked up from his workstation, confusion evident on his features. This is highly unusual behavior, Admiral. In all my studies of human psychology, they've never demonstrated this level of coordination. They can barely agree on their own planetary governance, yet somehow they've achieved complete communication silence across the entire globe. Admiral Morvain felt the first stirring of unease. Perhaps they're in shock. Some species react to overwhelming displays of power with temporary paralysis. Possible, but unlikely, Dr. Vrain replied. Humans have faced extinction-level events before. Asteroid impacts, volcanic super-eruptions, ice ages. Their response pattern is typically increased communication, not silence. They coordinate, they plan, they adapt. Then what are they doing? Admiral Morvain demanded. Captain Tessin studied her sensor readings. Long-range scans show normal population centers, normal heat signatures from their cities. They're still there, Admiral. They're just quiet. The silence stretched on. 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours. The bridge crew of the Dominator grew increasingly uncomfortable. This had never happened before in the history of Zephyrian conquest. On the second day, sensor operator Gex made a discovery that changed everything. Admiral, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the planet's surface. Multiple locations, synchronized patterns. What kind of energy signatures? That's the problem, sir. I don't recognize them. They're not fusion, not antimatter, not any form of power generation in our databases. The patterns are sophisticated. Admiral Morvain studied the readouts with growing concern. The energy signatures weren't random. They were clearly artificial, clearly coordinated, and clearly beyond what they had believed human technology could produce. Dr. Vrain approached the sensor station, his academic curiosity overriding his nervousness. May I see those readings, Operator Gex? He studied the data for several minutes, his expression growing increasingly troubled. Admiral, these energy patterns, they're quantum-based, highly advanced quantum manipulation on a planetary scale. That's impossible, Captain Tessin protested. Our intelligence clearly showed they've barely begun to understand quantum mechanics at a theoretical level. Intelligence can be wrong, Dr. Vrain said quietly, or intelligence can be deceived. The words hung in the air like a curse. Admiral Morvain felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest. Genuine fear. Explain. What if, Dr. Vrain began carefully, what if everything we observed about human technology was intentionally misleading? What if a species that survived multiple planetary extinction events, that went from primitive stone tools to nuclear weapons in just a few thousand years, might be more adaptive than we assumed? Before Admiral Morvain could respond, Communications Officer Vex called out in alarm. Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy spikes from the asteroid belt. Something's happening out there. The main viewer shifted to show the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. What they saw defied explanation. Dozens of objects, previously indistinguishable from ordinary asteroids, were suddenly blazing with energy signatures. As they watched, these objects began to move, accelerating toward the outer solar system with purpose and coordination. "Those aren't asteroids," Captain Tessin whispered. "No," Admiral Morvain agreed grimly. "They're ships. Hidden ships." The tactical display updated as more contacts appeared. Behind Jupiter's moons, lurking in Saturn's rings, concealed among the ice chunks of the Kuiper Belt, hundreds of previously undetected vessels revealed themselves. Each one blazed with the same sophisticated energy signatures they had detected from Earth's surface. Dr. Vrain stared at the display in awe and terror. They knew we were coming. They've been preparing for this. How? Admiral Morvain demanded. How could they have known? Because, a new voice said from behind them, "We've been watching you for decades." The bridge crew spun around to find a human woman standing calmly near the communication station. She was tall, dark-skinned, with graying hair pulled back in a military-style knot. Her uniform was clearly military, but unlike anything in their intelligence files, it was sleek, advanced, and somehow she had appeared on their bridge without triggering a single security alert. "I am Commander Sarah Chen, Earth Defense Coordinator," she said in perfect Zephyrian dialect. "And you, Admiral Morvain, have made a terrible mistake. The price of arrogance." Admiral Morvain's 4 eyes focused on the impossible human standing on his bridge. "Security alert. Intruder on. Your security systems have been offline for the past 6 hours." Commander Chen interrupted calmly. "Along with your weapons, engines, and long-range communications, you've been so focused on our planet that you failed to notice the nanites we've been introducing to your ships since you entered our solar system." Captain Tessin reached for her sidearm, only to find it had quietly disassembled itself, its components scattered across the deck in neat piles. Around the bridge, other officers made similar discoveries. Their equipment was systematically dismantling itself at the molecular level. "Nanites," Dr. Vrain breathed. "Self-replicating molecular machines. That's theoretical technology, even for us." Commander Chen smiled. "Theoretical for you, perhaps. We've had functional nanite technology for 37 years, along with quantum computing, advanced AI, and faster-than-light communication, all developed in complete secrecy while we pretended to argue about primitive politics and burn fossil fuels for your benefit." Admiral Morvain felt his world crumbling around him. "The surveillance reports, your technology levels, were carefully crafted fiction," Chen confirmed. "Every probe you sent, every surveillance drone, every intercepted communication was designed to show you exactly what we wanted you to see. A divided primitive species barely capable of reaching their own moon. It took considerable effort to maintain that illusion." The main viewer updated to show the tactical situation around Earth. What had appeared to be a defenseless planet was now revealed as the center of a vast defensive network. Space stations that had been invisible to Zephyrian sensors now blazed with energy. The moon itself, despite the crater from their attack, was clearly artificial construction wrapped around the natural satellite. You weaponized your moon," Captain Tessin asked in disbelief. "We weaponized everything," Chen replied. "Every asteroid, every space station, every satellite. For 70 years, since we first detected evidence of spacefaring civilizations, we've been preparing for this moment. The moment when someone would come to our home system with conquest in mind." Dr. Vrain studied the expanding tactical display with scientific fascination despite his terror. "The energy signatures we detected from Earth's surface. Planetary defense grid activation," Chen explained. "Quantum entanglement communication with our hidden fleet, mass drivers prepared to launch relativistic projectiles, atmospheric processors ready to generate directed plasma streams. Earth isn't just our home, Admiral. It's the most heavily fortified world in this section of the galaxy. Admiral Morvain watched his proud conquest fleet on the tactical display. Red warning indicators appeared on ship after ship as systems failed throughout his armada. "You're disabling our entire fleet." "Systematically and efficiently," Chen agreed. "Your technology is impressive, Admiral, but it has a fatal flaw. It's designed for conquering primitives, not fighting peers. Every system, every protocol, every tactic assumes technological superiority. When that assumption proves false." As if summoned by her words, the first of Earth's hidden ships came into visual range. They were sleek, angular vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls. Unlike the massive, imposing dreadnoughts of the Zephyrian fleet, these ships were smaller, faster, and radiated a sense of predatory efficiency. "The Terran Defense Fleet," Chen announced with pride. Each ship crewed by volunteers who grew up knowing this day might come. Trained from childhood in tactics designed specifically to counter conventional space warfare. The first boarding actions began without warning. Zephyrian ships throughout the fleet reported internal security breaches as human assault teams appeared seemingly from nowhere. Unlike traditional boarding parties that cut through hulls or fought through airlocks, these teams simply materialized inside the vessels using technology the Zephyrians couldn't comprehend. "Quantum teleportation," Dr. Vrain whispered. "Their quantum teleporting strike teams directly past our shields and armor." Captain Marcus Rodriguez materialized on the Dominator's bridge in a shimmer of displaced atoms. His assault teams spread out with practiced precision, their weapons targeting specific crew members with non-lethal precision rounds. Within seconds, the bridge was under human control. "Captain Rodriguez," Commander Chen acknowledged. "Status report. 37 Zephyrian vessels secured, Commander. Crews are unharmed but contained. We've captured their command structures intact as requested." Admiral Morvain stared at the human soldier. Rodriguez was unremarkable in appearance, medium height, brown hair, the kind of human their intelligence had dismissed as typical. But his equipment was decades beyond what they had expected, and his team moved with the coordination of veterans. "This is impossible," Admiral Morvain said. "Your species was supposed to be divided, primitive, easy to conquer. How did you achieve this level of technological advancement in secret?" Commander Chen's expression hardened. "You want to know how?" "Fear, Admiral. Pure, existential fear. When we realized we weren't alone in the universe, when we understood that there were civilizations out there with the power to destroy us, every petty human conflict became irrelevant overnight." She gestured to the tactical display showing Earth's defensive network. "We didn't stop fighting each other because we suddenly became enlightened. We stopped fighting each other because we realized we had a much more dangerous enemy to prepare for. Every resource, every brilliant mind, every technological innovation was redirected toward a single goal: making sure that when aliens came to our world with conquest in mind, they would regret it." Dr. Vrain looked around the bridge, noting how carefully the humans had avoided casualties. "You could have destroyed us completely. Why show restraint?" "Because we're not conquerors," Chen replied. "We're defenders. Your crews are guilty of following orders, but most of them aren't guilty of choosing this war. We make a distinction." Admiral Morvain felt the weight of complete defeat settling over him. "What happens now?" "Now, Admiral, you and your fleet return to Zephyrian space with a message. Earth is not defenseless. Humanity is not primitive, and any civilization that comes to our home system with hostile intent will face the same fate you have today." Captain Rodriguez approached with a data tablet. "All ships secured, Commander. Minimal casualties, full intelligence recovery. Their navigation databases contain detailed information about 14 other species they conquered." Chen's expression grew cold. 14 other worlds you've subjugated, Admiral. 14 other civilizations you've integrated into your empire. That ends now. You can't possibly challenge the entire Zephyrian Empire, Admiral Morvain protested. "We control hundreds of systems, thousands of worlds. Can't we? Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Admiral, you've just witnessed what a single human system can do when properly motivated. Do you really want to find out what happens when we decide to take our defensive capabilities on the road? The tactical display updated again, showing the arrival of additional human vessels. These weren't the sleek fighters of the initial response, but massive construction ships and mobile shipyards. They began efficiently processing the disabled Zephyrian vessels, studying their technology, and integrating useful components into human designs. We learned fast, Admiral, Chen explained. By the time your fleet returns to Zephyrian space, we'll have reverse-engineered your quantum drives, your shield systems, and your weapons. In 6 months, we'll have improved on them. In a year, we'll be building ships that make your dreadnoughts look like toys. Dr. Vrain stared at the human commander with newfound respect and terror. You're not just defending your world. You're preparing to liberate ours. The conquered species you mentioned, Dr. Vrain. Do they deserve freedom? Do they deserve a chance to reclaim their worlds from Zephyrian occupation? Chen's voice carried the weight of absolute conviction. Because humanity has decided that forced conquest is an abomination that will not be tolerated in our region of space. Admiral Morvain looked around his bridge, now efficiently controlled by humans who had outthought, outplanned, and outfought the mighty Zephyrian Empire. You're declaring war on our entire civilization. No, Admiral. We're declaring war on the concept of conquest itself. Any species that wants to coexist peacefully with humanity will find us to be valuable allies. Any species that believes might makes right will discover that they're not as mighty as they thought. The process of releasing the Zephyrian fleet began with typical human efficiency. Ships were repaired just enough to make the journey home. Crews were returned unharmed but humbled, and detailed recordings of the encounter were loaded into their databases. As Admiral Morvain prepared to depart Earth's solar system in defeat, Commander Chen approached him one final time. Admiral, I want you to understand something. Today wasn't about showing off human superiority. Today was about sending a message to every civilization in this galaxy that believes conquest is acceptable. She looked out at the blue world that had hidden such devastating defensive capabilities. Earth looks peaceful from space, doesn't it? Beautiful, serene, defenseless. Remember that image, Admiral. Remember it when you're tempted to judge a species by appearances again. The Zephyrian fleet departed Earth's solar system in complete disgrace, carrying with them a story that would reshape galactic politics. The tale of how the mighty Fifth Fleet encountered a primitive world and learned the true meaning of human ingenuity, preparation, and determination. Behind them, Earth continued its quiet rotation, its moon scared but defiant, its people already planning for the next challenge that might come from the stars. Because humanity had learned the most important lesson of all. In a dangerous universe, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance and the willingness to do whatever it takes to protect home.